Good morning. 4 days to go for the window closes. Can you give us an overview of how it's gone so far and how busy you expect to be?
I don't expect to be that busy now. I think that at the moment we're with our two signings would be at our 25-man squad limit for registration. So unless I think somebody leaves in the next 4 days, I can't see us doing any more business than the business we've just achieved over the weekend. At long last, after an hard, gruelling 8 weeks or so, we finally managed to secure 2 new faces.
How did those 2 fit in?
Well, I think that we've obviously managed to find Antonio on the back of the fact that it's a 1 in 1 out. They've taken Essien from Chelsea, which left the door open for Antonio to come and try and play in the Premier League, which he's very excited about. 2 reasons: he wants to play, he wants to achieve as much as achieved in Italy. He wants to get in the Italian squad for the World Cup, whereas Marco is hasn't done that much for the last 5 or 6 weeks, so he wants to come and chance his arm again in, like most players worldwide today, in the most exciting league in the world, and has got a good track record for being a lively front man, scoring a few goals, even though recently that's not been the case by a few niggly injuries.
When do you see him start to make a play?
Well, I think Antonio's almost, from a fitness point of view, fine to be selected whenever. I think there's always a settling-in period needs to be done. It has to be very quickly because of the window we're in and because of the games coming thick and fast. So we hope that's going to be a quick integration. Whereas Marco is a little deconditioned on the fact that he hasn't played a competitive game for about 6 weeks.
Always difficult to come in mid-season, isn't it? I mean, it's going to be even more difficult with the weather and everything else, isn't it?
It's not the weather. It's the pace and the change of culture for players. That's the key factor. How quickly can they handle a change of country, a change of players that they're playing with, not understanding the players that they're going to play with, the players not understanding them, and hopefully they've got a strong mentality, which they appear to have, that they will grasp all that as quickly as possible and find the pace of the Premier League as quickly as possible, because that's what's needed to be done before they can start showing off the skills and the talents.
If you do get players out, which gives you an opportunity to bring others in, I mean, the name Dani Osvaldo has come up. Is that a possibility?
Not at the moment. No, we're not doing anything, like I said, at the moment, unless anybody goes out now. We've been juggling a dozen balls at any one time in any one week, and finally, eventually 2 of them have landed into securing the transfers. And as I said from the very beginning, it always gets more difficult to sign players at the early part of the window, and then the latter part. I think that this next few days becomes the cattle market sale, doesn't it? The open market sale, because players that clubs thought they were going to get rid of relatively easily in January has not been the case. So then better deals become available, and financial implications are always the key element in the end. Most of the time it breaks down on finance rather than anything else.
Team news, you've got a couple of guys coming back, haven't you, potentially?
Yes, I mean, things are looking good on that front again. For the first time for many weeks now, we have got our defensive players back into training. Winston Reid is actually training for the first time today with the squad. Of course, won't be considered at all for Wednesday on a 10-11 week break. James Collins is okay, George McCartney's back, and Joey O'Brien's back. So I think for the first time, and I don't want to tempt fate, I'm going to have to touch wood somewhere in a minute, right? I mean, there's only Joe Cole that's injured, and I can't ever remember that over the last 3 months or so, just seeing 1 player injured, or 2 players, which you'd expect rather than 7 or 8. So let's hope it's a free 2014 from an injury point of view, which is obviously going to make a big difference to us on the fight we have ahead of us for the next 16 games.
That fight starts with Chelsea. Tough game, that, isn't it? Although they did have a game over the weekend, you didn't.
Yes, but I mean, he changes his squad, and he's got 25 international players to choose from, so that's never been a particular problem for a club like Chelsea, and I would say, where keeping that amount of players and rotating them keeps all the players relatively happy, because of their massive programme throughout the season means that players that don't play so much, they say, play generally 20 games plus. So we're happy in our squad if players are getting into the 25 mark, 28 mark, because we will only play 40 plus games. They will play 60 plus.